2015. It's alive. It's well. It's right there. It's called the Balanced Budget Convention of States Amendment. That's what they're after. It is there, folks. There's already one. Why do we want to stack yet another con application up against our Constitution? Okay, I agree. You know, we do have issues in our country with our federal government. Nothing in government is perfect, but we can and we must address that problem at the source of the problem.
That's what we're
It's not
doing.
our Constitution. We do have an option available. There is a House bill out there to rein in the government within our walls. I offer that you take a
Yeah,
look
this
at
is
that.
his bill.
It's there, it's available for us. Our federal republic is the best form of government ever seen in the history of mankind. And that's because of our Constitution. Our federal republic is the envy of every civilization on earth. That's because of our Constitution. Our representative democracy has been the target of repeated attack over the last 232 years, but we're the land of the free still, and it's because of our Constitution. Protect it. Don't give it up to an unknown. Defend our Constitution. Don't hand it over to ambiguity. Enforce it, please. Don't change it. Reject this resolution. Vote no to this latest charge against our constitutional republic.
Mr. Speaker.
Representative Beal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I defer my time to the bill's prime sponsor.
Representative Steele.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Wow, I think he just doubled my closing. Even just the last previous speaker took Article 5 and he skipped around the whole thing. So I would like to back up and read it to you. The Congress, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendments to the Constitution, or, you left that part out,
Yeah,
on the application of the legislatures of 2/3 of several states,
that's right.
shall call a convention for proposing amendments, which in either case shall be valid to all intents and purposes as part of the Constitution when ratified by the legislature of 3/4 of several states, or by convention in 3/4 thereof, as the one or the other mode of ratification may be proposed by Congress, provided that no amendment which may be made prior to the year, it goes back to 1080. But part of that got left out, and I wanted to share the rest of that with you, because it makes it very clear. They intended there to be two parts to Article 5. The one was for our federal government. The other one was specifically in there for the states, because they knew out of every single democracy there has ever been, the federal government supersedes its power over a period of time. Term limits, we talked about term limits. Even George Washington, back in that time, knew enough that this is not for a career. He went home from Mount Vernon. That was what the standard was. But somehow we've managed to make careers out of all of our federal appointees. Restraints on the federal government. Our state has to balance our budget. What if we were to just balance, not pay the 22 trillion we already owe, but what about if we just tried to balance the budget federally to start with? And that's what it would be. We're not going to give, a convention can't go in there and say, hey, we're going to pay off the 22 trillion. It isn't going to happen. That is something they would have to work out at the convention, and that's what it's there for. Talked about one vote, one state couldn't happen. What about our senators? We have 2 senators per state. This, by the rules set up by the convention, would be the same way. 1 state, 1 vote. I don't care if California sends 50 people. When they get there to vote, they have 1 vote, just like we would have 1 vote. I forget what that football comment was, but I thought that was an interesting. We do have in our bill, just FYI, we do have a 10-year sunset on it. It's something we added, it's something to be concerned with, that we're just going to pass this thing and it's going to be there forever. No, it'll be there for, if we pass it, if we get to that point, it'll be there for 10 years. And if we don't do something in 10 years, it's going to get kicked back out. And I'm not going to worry about it in 10 years. There was a statement made about changing the 10, the Bill of Rights. I don't know where that came from, because that's not the purpose of the whole thing. We're not, thank you, we're not interested in changing the Bill of Rights. What we have is what we have, and that's going to stay there because the Constitution says so. Now, let me get to my closing. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the resolution before you is about restoring our federal system by using the constitutional power under Article 5. Congress has usurped powers that rightly belong to us, the elected lawmakers of South Dakota. The activities of Washington, D.C. today would have been unthinkable by our founding fathers. Federal laws now touch every aspect of our life. The kind of light bulbs we get to buy, farming, school curriculum, school lunches, healthcare, insurance. They dictate everything to us. Meanwhile, we live under the shadows of a crushing national debt that threatens to enslave our grandchildren and our children. All of this comes courtesy of an activist Supreme Court, which has vastly expanded the federal powers through its precedents. The court has created loopholes to the Constitution's limit on federal powers, and those loopholes will remain until somebody closes them. That's someone is us. That's why I've introduced H.J.R. 5001 to allow the state to play their trump card to end federal tyranny. I don't think our founding fathers would be surprised that the federal government has claimed such incredible power. I believe they would be surprised, I think, that we have not used the tools they have given us to be able to curb it. George Mason specifically predicted that the federal government would one day overpower the states, and he was right. And that's why he insisted that Article 5 include a way for states to propose constitutional amendments, not change, propose constitutional amendment to a state-controlled convention. With this approach, we could propose a balanced budget amendment accompanied by limitations on Congress's spending power and taxation. We could propose limits on the executive power of federal agencies and impose real checks and balances on the Supreme Court. Of course, any proposal would have to be ratified by 38 states according to our Constitution. This resolution has already been passed by the 15 states, which was mentioned. This effort is endorsed by some of the nation's finest conservatives, while being opposed by individuals like Hillary Clinton and Howard Dean. The fact is, state legislatures are our nation's last line of defense against an overreaching federal government. It's time for us to use our Article 5 power. History will remember us one way or another. We will either be remembered as the generation that finally succumbed completely to federal tyranny, or the generation who stood and defended the torch of liberty, which has been flickering dangerously low. As Ronald Reagan said, you and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We will preserve for our children this, the last hope of mankind on earth, or we will sentence them to take the first step into 1,000 years of darkness. If we fail, at least let our children and our children's children say of us, we justify our brief moment here. We did all we could that could be done. Please support HJR 5001. Of us, let it not be said that we failed to do all that could be done. Thank you, Mr. Speaker and fellow members of the House, for patiently listening to this very critical issue.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hearing no further remarks, the question for the House is final passage of HJR 5001. Those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed nay. The clerk will unlock the voting machine and the members will proceed to vote. So I will take a personal privilege at this time and introduce to the members of the House and those in the gallery the Honorable Frank Farrar, former Governor of South Dakota. Let me just read a little bit about Governor Farrar. You see it up here to the left. Governor Farrar was born April 2nd. I'm reading from Wikipedia, so I'm hoping it's correct. Governor Farrar was born April 2nd, 1929. The 24th Governor of South Dakota, a Republican from Britain, South Dakota. Served as a state's Attorney General from 1963 to 1969, and as Governor from 69 to 71. After leaving office, he chaired several holding companies and became the owner of numerous banks. A great idea. Governor Farrar earned his bachelor's degree from the University of South Dakota and an LLB degree from the University of South Dakota School of Law. He was in the U.S. Army Reserve from 1949 through 1953 and on active duty during the Korean War from 53 to 55. He married the former Patricia Henley on June 5, 1953 at Fort Benning, Georgia, where he was stationed in the U.S. Army. After the Korean War ended, Farrar was an Internal Revenue agent until 1957. He was a judge in 1958. He served as state's attorney for Marshall County from 59 to 62, also served as president of the State's Attorneys Association, and attorney general from 63 to 69. In May of 62, Governor Farrar announced that he was running for attorney general, that there was apparently a primary, but I think that's correct. But Governor Farrar won the nomination with 96,000 votes and went on to defeat the candidate from Vermillion in the general election. In July of 64, Governor Farrar sought re-nomination as Attorney General and was re-elected in the general election with 158,000 votes. And a third term following that, and there's much speculation that he'd become the heir apparent for Republican governor's race in 68. He was elected governor. He served in that capacity from January 7th, 1969 to January 5 of 71. Governor Farrar has over 17,000 hours of logged piloting time. He's also an avid athlete, completing the Kona Ironman competition at age 73. A decade after surviving lymphatic cancer. He also holds the 9th fastest finishing time in the Coeur d'Alene Ironman in the 70-plus men's division, completed the 2003 race in 16 hours, 48 minutes, 49 seconds. And his wife was likewise a senior Olympian in 2015. So we want to welcome Governor Farrar and thank you so much for all of your years of service and all your accomplishments for the state of South Dakota.
for making South Dakota the best state in the United States. We're solvent, have excellent communities, excellent education, and I think we're the #1 state in the United States of America, and counting you people doing the work. Thank you for helping us and the people of South Dakota. And it's going to continue to be the greatest state. And thank you for your effort.
Amen. Thank you very much. It's because of great Americans like Governor Ferrari that our country is moving well, especially the South Dakota.
Malala voted no. I can see that, her red button.
Mr. Speaker, all members present have voted.
Please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there were 32 yeas, 37 nays, and 1 excused.
HJR 5001 having failed to receive the
32
majority
to
vote,
37.
I declare lost.